Clayton, thanks so much. Well, 18-year-old Logan Steiner died suddenly just before his high school graduation last year. The Ohio teenager had a lethal amount of pure powdered caffeine in his blood, more than 23 times the average coffee drink.
Most people aren't even aware that could happen, but it did happen, and now his parents are suing the online retailer Amazon.com and other companies that distribute that caffeine powder. They're charging wrongful death. The question is, do they have a case?
Judge Alex Ferrer, a former Florida Circuit Court judge, joins us now to talk about it. Judge, great to see you.
Oh, great to be back. How are you?
Do they have a case? I mean, this week we had a story about a guy getting his face burned by putting it too close to fajitas. And they said, look, it was an obvious risk.
Yes.
So does this fall into that same category of an obvious risk?
This is considerably different. I wasn't very knowledgeable about powdered caffeine. But I'm certainly going to be warning my kids about it because it is a product that is very, very intense. The actual dose you're supposed to take is like 1/16 of a teaspoon. Well, it's very easy for people, especially young guys, to just take a teaspoon and add it to their protein shake, which they do. They add it to protein shakes. They add it to drinks. You know, everybody's taking those power drinks, energy drinks to be able to go clubbing at night and things like that. Well, 1 teaspoon is the equivalent of 25 cups of coffee. The difference between a safe dose of powdered caffeine and a lethal dose is very small. And when you're dealing with a product like that, the duty to warn is very high. In fact, some would argue that it should actually be banned.
But wait, I mean, but the question is, aside from the dangers of powdered caffeine, which sound real, does Amazon have a responsibility to protect people from their own behavior? They also sell kitchen knives and curling irons and hydrochloric acid for cleaning your pool. I mean, people could die from all of those things.
Sure, but those dangers are obvious. You don't have to warn somebody that, hey, don't stab yourself with a knife in the throat because you might kill yourself. Those are obvious dangers. The difference between, if I sell you a liquid fertilizer to use on your ornamental plants, but you know, 1 dose of the liquid fertilizer is perfectly good for your plants, but if you double the dose, it could blow up and kill you. That's not an obvious danger, and though you have to warn adequately about that.
But it's a marketplace, though. Amazon is a marketplace. So does a store, if you go into a bodega, is it the store's responsibility to know the ingredients of every item that's in the bodega?
It is, because in product liability law, what the courts have done over years is said, hey, wait a minute, who is the best one to accept responsibility for the dangers of a product? The consumer who doesn't know, is relying on the warnings about the danger, or the people who put it into the stream of commerce. And their view is that a retailer can negotiate the risks with a manufacturer. When I'm going to carry your product at Walmart, I expect you to indemnify me if there are any dangers or injuries. So that way, the cost of the dangers of the product gets absorbed by the manufacturer in the price that they charge for the product.
Wow, and some critics would say that they're just looking for the deepest pockets, and that's why they're not just looking at the product maker, but all these other retailers, even they are online.
In some respects they are, because a lot of times a manufacturer is out of business or is a foreign manufacturer. You have a product produced in China that's extremely dangerous, and a retailer here says, yeah, I'm going to carry it because I can sell 1 billion of them. But, you know, the consumer is the one who ultimately gets injured. So in some states, and the laws do vary, in some states they say, you can't go after the retailer unless the manufacturer cannot be reached.
Regardless of how this turns out, it's good that we're bringing awareness to.
Yeah, I would stay away from caffeine powder. I absolutely would.
Judge, great to see you this morning.
Thank you. It's great to be back.